do enjoy the content on my channel, you want to support me, consider joining the channel. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. As always, continue your prayers. Assalamu alaikum, brothers. Welcome back. So I have another good video for you about Candace Owens. He has lately gone against the Christian narrative, talking against a certain state, and also has some really good comments again about Muslims and how the media has distorted what it is true about them. And of course, Christians have thrown her under the bus. So let's watch, shall we?
In 2021, Candace Owens was celebrated by Christians for boldly standing up against secular ideologies and defending what many saw as core Christian values. But her recent loyalty to figures like Andrew Tate, Kanye West, and her involvement in anti-Semitic conspiracy theories have left many Christians feeling uneasy, even betrayed.
Anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. If you actually go and watch her videos, not theories, she just points out a lot of inconsistencies.
The very loyalty that once made her a conservative champion might now be leading her and those who look up to her down a dangerous path. We'll explore how her loyalty has led to her apparent anti-Semitism, but first, if you need evidence for just how bad things have gotten, take a look at this tweet. Just a few months ago, Candace tweeted, "Ban pornography. It's a psychological weapon intended to weaken our men." She followed up by saying that it was created by the most deprived people among us and that we should stigmatize every person who defends or profits from it. Now, most Christians supported this sentiment, believing that she was standing for Christian values that promote family and well-being. She even tweeted that the men who struggle with pornography are the intended victims, but this is where things get complicated. You see, her stance made it all the more confusing when she defended and protected someone like Andrew Tate, who, right before his arrest, was bragging about exploiting men with porn, saying,
"Chicks would sit there and hit a keyboard that wasn't plugged in, and me and my brother, and eventually some staff I trained, would do all the talking. We were taking their money, all of it. I had these guys selling their houses, life savings, loans, all of it to me. Give me it all." You'd have a guy.
Feel bad or no?
No, to give a solitary.
So it's ironic that
It's ironic that those videos are years before he became a Muslim, and he stepped away from all of that. And then once he became a Muslim, the attacks came in, but he's not going to mention that, like how long ago he was doing that, and he no longer does that. Weird how that works out, huh?
she condemned porn as a weapon to weaken others, yet Tate bragged about doing exactly that just months before his arrest. She said that those who profit off of it should be stigmatized, yet right before the pandemic, Tate tweeted, "I make corn. I made so much corn that I made millions. You consume corn. I am God. You are an effing loser." But we knew that already. Learn how to make money by making corn here. But she never stigmatized Tate for it. And all of this is weird because even in her most recent interview of Tate, she talked to him about how bad she thinks that corn is. But this is the same guy who only a few years ago bragged about getting men addicted to corn in order to control them, tweeting, "I super hope the corn addiction gets out of control and ruins everyone's lives. I hope everyone suffers, and I don't want to."
If you also want to know how garbage this is, look at the date, 2019. That was almost 5 years ago. That was before he was a Muslim. He doesn't tweet that anymore, now does he?
Help anyone break free at all. Keep watching Cam Girls. I want more money. And if you're doubting that this was his Twitter account, he confirmed it in multiple other clips online as well. So now keep in mind that this is the same guy who recorded himself during the COVID lockdowns, saying that he was still running a webcam business. And despite this, Candace still claims that his webcamming business was over 10 years ago.
What he said 10 years ago.
So this video is from 10 years ago.
Looking back 10 years.
When you talk about Candace from 10 years ago.
Fortunately, I had no cameras in my face 10 years ago.
The idea that you did something 10 years ago.
He gave us this 10 years ago.
We'll talk about these things from 10 years ago.
Again, if you found Candace 10 years ago.
Which contradicts the facts, Tate's own recorded testimony, and his countless tweets. And still to this day, she continues campaigning for Tate, spreading all kinds of falsehoods for him. But all of this has left Christians confused. I mean, on the one hand, she talks about her strong conviction against corn, while on the other, she continues to platform and defend Tate despite his entire empire being built on corn. Well, the only way that this would make sense is if Candace didn't know Tate or about Tate prior to his arrest. So, is that what happened? Well, we may have gotten a little more insight into that question during a recent live stream Candace did a few days ago, but not based on what she said, instead based on what was behind her. If you've watched any of her streams from her home office, you may have noticed something interesting. If you zoom in right here, you can see a picture of her husband, George Farmer, from what appears to be several years ago. And if you look to the side of him, he's sitting next to none other than Andrew Tate. Now, we knew that Tate and Candace had met before, but what we didn't know was how deep it really went. According to her husband, he's known Tate for a very long time.
I've known Andrew since before Andrew was Andrew. You know what I mean?
So that photo could just be them two before she got married to Candace Owens. What is that supposed to prove?
I've known Andrew since before he was famous, I guess. Andrew is a great guy.
But what most people didn't know was that Candace also met Tate several years ago, which could explain why in her past episodes talking about Tate's charges, Candace didn't distance herself from Tate, but instead went to extreme lengths to protect him, even using an episode to discredit an alleged victim who accused Tate of abuse. And this is where things started looking really suspect. Given that Tate's abuser also accused another man when she was 15 years old, and that man was sentenced to 24 years in prison because of it. Because of this, Candace made an episode trying to discredit this girl's credibility. In the episode, she even went so far as to refuse to say the name of the convicted felon in order to protect his identity, while repeatedly mentioning the underage girl's name in the episode without censoring it.
The first case involves a man who I am not going to name, and the only reason I'm not going to name him is because at the time of the allegations against him, Emma was in fact a minor. By the way, you're going to hear some beeps when I'm discussing this case. If I accidentally say his name, we intend to just beep it out.
It was almost as if Candace was willing to ignore or excuse the very values that she claims to stand for, all because...
And of course, this person, the allegation, yeah, there was actually a long things of problems with her quote allegations, which is why nothing came out of it. So you're supposed to be guilty until proven, or innocent until proven guilty. And Tate was never proven to be guilty. So that's not what we're supposed to do.
Because of her personal loyalty to Andrew Tate. Another thing that Tate said in that tweet was that he was God, which is another thing that Candace claims to hate. She claims to hate blasphemy, and Christians have applauded her for defending Christian values by taking a stance against it. Earlier this year, she even posted a video condemning the rapper Lil Nas X for
that is mocking Jesus Christ, and it's obviously meant to be blasphemous.
But not even a month later, she endorsed Kanye's Vultures album, where Kanye says, "I'm the new Jesus," explicit. And this wasn't just art either. Following the release of his album, Kanye said multiple times that he's God. So if Candace was outraged by Lil Nas X for dressing up on a cross and she considered it to be blasphemy, then this old picture of Kanye and him saying that he's the new Jesus should also be considered blasphemy. And just to be clear, given that she's friends with Kanye, I don't expect her to personally attack him, but there's also no need to go out of the way to promote this album if blasphemy really does bother her so much. And those aren't the only Christian values that Candace seems to turn a blind eye to. Candace has condemned and shamed countless women for being immodest, including Kim Kardashian and Madonna, by saying that they're basically punning corn on the internet for being nearly naked. But that same album she promoted in multiple tweets also features Kanye's naked wife on the cover. And as Candace herself said,
there needs to either be a real standard, right? Or there should be no double standards. We just need to have a real standard to not allow pornography on the internet.
She's also made several podcasts attacking rappers for having degenerate lyrics, but literally every single thing that she scolds and shames other rappers for promoting in their lyrics is also being promoted in Kanye's Vultures album. And rather than being infuriated with it, she praises it. Once again, her values seem to be compromised by selective loyalty. But
why doesn't he post stuff about her quote praising the album? And yeah, everybody knows Kanye West supposed to be a born again Christian. He's got a slew of mental problems. I mean, real mental problems. Unlike the other people who don't have mental problems, they just do it for the money. That dude is, he's got problems and he needs help. Whatever.
But Candace's loyalty to individuals like Andrew Tate and Kanye West is only one part of the problem. Her unwavering commitment to certain ideologies has led her down an even more dangerous path.
What is it about Hitler? Why is he the most evil? Where did the idea of a concentration camp come from? The Bolsheviks. Ataturk was Don May. Sigmund Freud was a Kabbalist. Yell was established by Frankists, Israelis that were working at the World Trade Center who were forewarned of the attack.
This is especially evident in her recent flirtation with anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, where her loyalty to these ideas has seemed to cause her to overlook facts and compromise her Christian values. You see, Candace has built a reputation for calling out misinformation and challenging mainstream media narratives. However, in recent years, Candace has become a powerful media figure herself, reaching nearly 60 million views per month, which surpasses the primetime viewership of major news networks like MSNBC. So her influence carries a lot of responsibility, making it crucial for her to remain steadfast in the Christian value of not bearing false witness. If you've been following her content lately, you can't help but notice that she seems to trace every world problem back to the Jews in some way. But the only problem is she consistently gets her facts wrong. So much so that even Nick Fuentes, who's known as the most prolific anti-Semite of our generation, he even had to call her out for how much she gets wrong.
And she's calling them the Bolshevists, and she says that, she gets all the details wrong about that. And then she says Stalin was Jewish. Stalin was not Jewish. And then she says Ataturk was secretly Jewish. Ataturk was not secretly Jewish. But I didn't say anything. I said, whatever. I said, oh, well, not everyone's perfect. I said, yeah, it's not really a good look, but, she's learning. I said, she's going to get on the ball eventually. So I didn't say anything. I held my tongue, even though that was not really a good look. Okay. You can't really go hard like that and stake the reputation of you and everybody on this and then get it wrong really severely over and over. She's talking about, all this stuff that it just doesn't even really make any sense. And the difference between me and her, one, I'm a really good researcher. Two, I really know what the I'm talking about because I've been doing this a long time.
Now, when someone with views as extreme as Nick Fuentes criticizes you for inaccuracies, that's a clear sign that something has gone seriously wrong. Now,
So, let me get this right. Are you saying that Nick Fuentes has the right information? The one you call an anti-Semite? So, I'm sorry. So you're saying that he's correct? Because that's what it looks like to me. You're saying that he's correct. I'm just trying to figure out who's correct and who's not. Because apparently you seem to know all the facts. I don't know.
we won't get too deep into the weeds here, but take a look at the Frankist conspiracy theory that she's been arguing for lately. She argued that Theodor Herzl, a Zionist leader who helped lay the foundation for the creation of Israel, was connected to the Frankists because they were from the same region. However, Jacob Frank was born in 1726 in a small town in modern-day Ukraine, and Herzl was born almost 400 miles away in Budapest, almost 100 years later. I mean, to see the problem, this is like claiming that because a gang was founded 100 years and 400 miles from where you were born, that you must be a part of it. And she was also wrong about Leo Frank being a Frankist, a claim that lacks historical support and seems to be based on only a shared last name. She claimed that the Frankists were responsible for mission Christians, which is something that they weren't even accused of. So the pattern of inaccuracies is frequent and concerning, particularly when discussing sensitive topics like these.
But I'm sorry. Don't you believe everything in the Bible, even though it's then what are the facts then? I mean, why don't you lay out all her facts that she said? I mean, you're saying she's wrong. Prove to everybody that she's wrong then. Wouldn't that be the best part? Maybe I'm wrong.
And I get that it's easy to get caught up in compelling stories, but it's also crucial to approach these sorts of topics with careful research and an open mind. Scholars have found significant issues with all of these claims, and of course, that doesn't mean that we should just dismiss these concerns outright, but it does mean that we should be especially cautious and make sure we're not unintentionally spreading harmful misinformation, especially when we have platforms as big as hers. So her frequent pattern of getting things wrong has understandably led to significant pushback against her claims. And this is one of the reasons for why her claims have been receiving so much pushback. One commenter on Twitter said, "Interesting. I don't recall anyone getting this triggered when Candace was dunking on blacks." And she responded by saying, "No, that was always allowed and encouraged," revealing once again her selective loyalty to certain ideologies over others. Some interpreted her response to be evidence that she was grifting the entire time she worked at the Daily Wire, which could be defended by taking a look at her documentary on George Floyd, The Greatest Lie Ever Sold. Now, of course, not everything that she said in this documentary was false, and many of us applauded her for the times when she looked at the facts and told uncomfortable truths. But if you watch the documentary alongside of the trial, you likely notice that she missed or ignored some critical facts. I mean, take a look at this clip from her documentary.
Would you agree that from the perspective of Officer King's body camera, it appears that Officer Chauvin's knee was more on Mr. Floyd's shoulder blade?
Yes.
So Candace tried to argue that Chauvin's knee was not on Floyd's neck, but on his shoulder blade. However, she didn't include the rest of the cross-examination, which revealed a much different story.
That moment in time that the knee of the defendant was more towards the shoulder blade. Is that right?
That is correct.
That was at a time where the ambulance had already arrived?
Yes.
Very shortly before they loaded Mr. Floyd onto the gurney? Is that right?
That is correct.
And so the knee of the defendant was on Mr. Floyd's neck up until the time you just pointed out.
Yes. When I viewed that video portion, that is the first time that I'd seen the knee of the defendant on the shoulder blade area.
Now, no matter what you think about the George Floyd trial, that's not the point of what I'm getting across here. It doesn't matter if you think that he was in the right or the wrong for the sake of this video. The point is that by selectively editing the testimony, Candace presented a narrative that fit with her agenda, but didn't align with the full truth. And there are several other examples of this, like how she included a clip of a witness who was asked,
Did it appear that Mr. Floyd said, "I ate too many drugs"?
Yes, it did.
but she didn't show the rest of the conversation in which the witness clarified.
Having heard it in context, are you able to tell what Mr. Floyd is saying there?
Yes, I believe Mr. Floyd was saying, "I ain't do no drugs."
But perhaps the most significant omission.
What? Doesn't even that whole thing didn't even make any sense to me.
Was when Candace brought in an anti-BLM investigator who claimed that Floyd died from an overdose. She included selective clips from the trial to support this claim, but omitted the strong evidence that disproved her claim.
Mr. Floyd died from positional asphyxia, which is a fancy way of saying he died because he had no oxygen left in his body.
You have lots of experience treating patients suffering from opioid overdoses.
Yes, sir, I do.
Would you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury whether fentanyl overdose causes air hunger?
No, it does not. The only time it could is if you've overdosed, but it's not air hunger because you are going to sleep. You're not hungry at all. You're sleeping. When you watch those videos and we go through them, what is his respiration? He's breathing. He's talking. He's not snoring. He is saying, please, please get off of me. I want to breathe. I can't breathe. That is not a fentanyl overdose. That is somebody begging to breathe.
If a person is suffering from a fentanyl overdose, would you describe that person then as alert?
No, sir. They're not going to be alert. They're going to be sleeping.
Would you describe them as oriented?
No, their brain is going to be in sleep mode or not breathing mode.
And was George Floyd oriented?
Oh, he was. He gave appropriate responses. Name, date of birth.
He knew where he was and what was happening.
He knew exactly where he was, what he was doing, and responding appropriately.
This omission not only misrepresented the medical evidence, but it also downplayed the severity of Floyd's struggle to breathe. Her selective editing and omissions of critical facts throughout the entire documentary highlight a pattern of her misleading her audience to fit a narrative which compromises the Christian value of impartiality in pursuit of the truth. And to be clear, I am not accusing her of doing this intentionally because I have no idea what her motives are. But given how often she seems to get her facts wrong or presents partial facts that are misleading, it's no wonder why her credibility is being seriously questioned, especially by Christians who once supported her. All right, so as we've seen, Candace's actions reveal just how easy it is to let our loyalty cloud our judgment and lead us away from the truth. And this isn't just about Candace, it's a reminder for all of us, including myself. In the Gospels, we see that Jesus not only exemplified perfect integrity, truthfulness, and impartiality, but he also challenged.
Yeah, I think I'm enough. I think that's enough. Yeah, the second Candace Owens, straight from the narrative, started speaking against you know who, got kicked out on there. Was an interview and talked about what the media has been feeding us and feeding her, and how her views are changing because of that, and switching to being a Catholic now. Ever since those things are happening, yeah, you could see the change in the narrative, the change in her view, how they view her, and so on. Yep, that's Christianity for you. That's the way it goes. So it's another reason why I'm glad I'm no longer part of that. But I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring her to the truth, bring her to Islam. And I'll still pray every day for our brothers and sisters that are Christians out there. Come to Islam. Come to Islam. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think. Subscribe, like, comment, share. Until next time. Peace.